and the East semifinals are set. You will be there. We've got on the East side, the top-seeded Sixers hosting the Hawks, Game 1, Sunday on ABC, while the Nets and Bucks, this is the rumble everyone has been looking forward to, beginning in Brooklyn on Saturday. Now, for Milwaukee, this was the round they were eliminated in by the Heat last year. They righted that wrong at the beginning of this year's playoffs, but now as they try to break through for their first finals in 47 years, Malika, what does this mean to their franchise long term?
It means a lot, Rachel, and not this individual matchup with the Nets. It's sexy. It's exciting. I'm excited to watch it. But in talking to Giannis Antetokounmpo this week, he said that this season, a difference in his approach overall is he's always been competitive, but he's really trying to zero in on putting on his blinders and just focus on himself. I'm still not sure I believe him when he said he didn't watch Game 5 between the Celtics and the Nets because, I mean, come on, he loves basketball. But he said that that's really not what he's trying to focus on. He's going to watch film. He's coming into practice. He's trying to limit some of his outside basketball. Again, this is the guy who built a gym when Bud put a lock on it, but that's the approach that they're having. And PJ Tucker said today, one thing that has impressed him the most about coming into this Bucks organization is just how much fuel they have taken from these last couple of seasons where they fell short. We've seen it over and over again. We know what this means to them, but he said that he's really been struck by how they've used that as motivation for this year. He said that Giannis was so focused on beating the Miami Heat. He was not going to let that series go. And he said that that made PJ Tucker raise his intensity level. We already know he's pretty intense. They keep check marks on the board of how many games they have left to win. This is a team that is locked in, Rachel.
I don't want to overstate this.
Here we go.
But
Malika, you know when we hear that sentence. Anyway, Brian, continue.
I think this series
that's like Giannis saying he doesn't watch.
I think this series is about the future of the NBA. Because the Nets are operating like this is all about the most offense you can possibly produce. That's what they said when they basically went for Harden and said, we are going to play like the Showtime Lakers on steroids. We're going to just absolutely go as hard as we can. We're going to score 145 and good luck. And then I think the Bucks, who can put up 140 on a good night as well, don't get me wrong, have spent all of these assets on versatile defenders. Not just Drew Holiday, but as Malika mentioned, PJ Tucker. Those two trades have completely gassed their ability to control their own draft.
Right.
And they did that because they realized in the NBA, you still got to defend. You just need versatile defenders. And so, like, if the Nets just come down and just like, listen, we're going to just outplay you and outrun you, I don't see why other teams won't mimic that and just go full 1980s all over again.
Yeah, this is a big series for Milwaukee. I think they've done a good job of kind of floating under the radar. They've been the 1 seed, and that didn't work, and we found holes and critiqued. But they've added great pieces. With everyone you mentioned, Brian, also adding Bobby Portis, Bryn Forbes shooting the ball well. This is the best this Milwaukee team, in my opinion, has been playing in the past 3 or 4 years. And what I liked is they fooled around with rotations during the season, even if that may have cost them a loss or two early on. But just to understand that we have these rotations, we have guys we could play these different combinations. So I'm willing. This is going to be a great series. I'm not sure who's going to win, but I think whoever wins this is going to represent the Eastern Conference in the finals.
Yeah, I mean, I threw out to these guys during the break, is whoever wins this the favorite for the NBA Finals, the favorite to win the title? With the way the West, so many other teams are having problems. We will find out. It will be interesting for Milwaukee, though, which really did go all in on retooling this team. At first it was, did they do enough to have Giannis resign? Well, that box got checked. But this is what they can do. And if this is not enough and they go out in the second round again, I don't know if you're Giannis and the Bucks and you go back to the drawing board and yet another offseason. I just don't know what else you can say besides, hey, we ran into some pretty bad luck here. Malika, when you talk about the Nets side of things, how much do you think they took away from their Celtics series? I was at one of those games, and, I mean, the Celtics were depleted. It was kind of hard to get a sense in the game I was at of really where the Nets were.
Yeah, well, and Steve Nash has said, Rachel, that, look, we just had to play the team that was in front of us. So, yes, we understand that they were depleted, but that wasn't something he said, we're missing Jeff Green. You know, things happen, right? But what the Nets are taking out of that series is they just had more time together on the floor to try to build that chemistry that they've been trying to get all season. They've still only played 13 games with the big three all together. And so to have that additional 5 games, that's what was important to them. Yes, this is a team where those big three have combined for 26 87 All-Star selections. But this is also, you mentioned, both Matt and Brian mentioned a case of offense versus defense a little bit, although the Bucks have a big three offensively of their own a little bit. They've averaged over 85 points per game. Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, and Giannis Antetokounmpo against the Nets this season. But what I'm also looking at, instead of just the offense versus the defense, I'm also looking at experience versus not. 2 years ago, when the Bucks lost to Toronto, they said, you know, we're trying to overcome a lack of experience. That's the boat the Nets are in right now, whereas the Bucks have this waterlog of experiences and adversities that they've gone through together.
Yeah, and look, it's going to be fascinating. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.